This is the Anything Goes Project video stream. Please be patient, the show will begin momentarily. Remember, the show can be reached via email at stalkermailbox@gmail.com, or simply call in and leave us a voicemail at 361-433-5739. You're listening to the Anything Goes Project. Interesting topics, interesting things. Real stories by real people. Your host is Mike. The Anything Goes Project is a production of M&C Designs. Be advised, this show may not be suitable for all ages. Many of the topics are for mature audiences only. The explicit tag is there for a reason. If you would like to contact the show, email us at stalkermailbox@gmail.com, or leave us a message at 361-433-5739. And now, on with the show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mike with the Anything Goes Project, and tonight we've got another awesome show for you. We're going to be going all over the board in tonight's discussion. All kinds of things that we're bringing to you that are just super interesting. And tonight, my guest is Otakara Klettke, an international best-selling author of Hear Your Body Whisper, How to Unlock Your Self-Healing Mechanism, and children's book series, The Detective Bella Unleashed. She is passionate about anything from nature, whether it's human, animal, or the whole universe, and often talks about these subjects as a guest on other podcasts and radio. She is an avid supporter of eco-friendly life and education, fascinated by scientific studies and what they come up with, and an incurable traveler. She loves to travel. Her and I had a long conversation about the traveling, and this is just something that we both could connect with. Currently, she lives on a ranch with her husband and her daughter by the beautiful Cascade Range in Oregon. And she's raising, as she says, too many pets. Can never have too many pets. And taking every chance to go on road trips with her homeschooled daughter. So, Cara, there we go. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm absolutely honored to be here. I'm excited, very excited
I've been excited about this show all week after you and I had that phone conversation. This is something I've actually been looking forward to. So I'm glad you're here with us tonight.
Well, thank you. It makes two of us. I'm excited too.
So, I mean, we might as well just jump right into it. I mean, you're a best-selling published author. For the people that are actually watching the video, on the screen, in between our two little video captions, is an image of her book. So, I mean, do you want to dive right into that, and we'll talk about publishing and books and how we got to that point of writing the book?
Absolutely. Whatever. Anything goes on a show. So whatever we would want to talk about, I'm happy to talk about anything.
Well,
of course.
Going back to your past, I know you spent some time in the Czech Republic. That's where you were born, if I'm correct. And so coming out of, I believe, when was it, 1989, whenever they left
the revolution, Velvet Revolution, exactly. So I was born when it was still Czechoslovakia at the time. It was a communistic Czechoslovakia. And when I was 13 years old, what's called Velvet Revolution, because it was very peaceful. It's called Velvet because a lot of people don't think that. People think that it was violent, and actually it was extremely peaceful revolution when students very peacefully overthrown the government, and they striked, and when the police force went at them, they were all giving them flowers, and they basically, it was like the hippie dream comes true, and they overthrow the government. The communism failed. Year later, Czechoslovakia separated, and Slovakia again. It was a mutual decision, kind of a happy divorce between the two countries, and then it was Czech Republic, and so that was kind of the thing which opened up our borders and let me like the more exhilarating chances of traveling further out. So that's also where a lot of the traveling came.
Yeah, that led to your passion for travel.
That was definitely like Part of it is actually the reason why even the book became the book, and it was because I had a childhood in which I was very ill and I was sick a lot and at home a lot. So I always wanted to like get out, like, so I always felt like confined
Mm-hmm.
more than others. So there was a political confinement, then it was like the health restrictions.
Yeah.
And then once it all like kind of went away and I had the chance was there was no more stopping me.
And it's like at that point, it's like, you know what? Let's write a book. So how did you get into studying these fields that you're actually writing about?
I'm just I always call myself that I'm a person who's interested in everything what's interesting. And to tell the truth, I come out of a family who reads a lot, who always read a lot. And because I was ill a lot and grew up under communism, there was nothing on TV. There was 2 TV channels, which they had nothing for kids except on Sunday, some like 2-hour program on Sunday. So
Mm-hmm.
we really didn't. There was really nothing at that time to do other than read. And if you're stuck in bed and you can't really go out and you're sick a lot, and your parents have this tremendous library, and then we had like library in our town. So I was reading a lot, and once you actually start reading a lot, eventually defines your taste. A lot of people say like, what is like one book that changes your life, or and the answer is like there is no one book. The
No.
answer to me always is to read, because whoever you are, you will find yourself in the direction you take of your reading. You'll see where is more interest. And to me, it was always interesting to find things. Like, I'm fascinated by people who are fascinated by something. I
Mm-hmm.
consider myself a polymath person, that I love many different subjects. I like so many subjects, and I dive in, I'll find a subject, I dive in good enough that I can keep a conversation with a professional. Let's say I can keep up a conversation with the scientist in inquisitive way, and they actually don't seem to get bored, or they're really good at like keeping wanting to talk to me. But I'm not the scientist in the end. I'm not the person who actually spends those hours. But those people are the people that absolutely fascinate me. So I've always wanted to surround myself and hang out with people who achieved something, who did something, who are the first at something in the world, who just doing something that others aren't. And then like see the light, what lights their eyes, and then just like listen to them. And I worked as a journalist back in Czech Republic. I work on TV. So I actually done it as a journalist, always seeked out the people that are unusual, or stories that are unusual. And as a polymath, as a person who really doesn't want to stick with one subject, books that I read, the opportunity of writing actually is giving me the chance to express what I found and move on. And I can write in so many different subjects. So it's like one profession in which I can actually do a lot. And right now I'm actually even doing whole another project that it's not a book, but it will partially go with the book, and a book will follow to it too. So I'm into a whole other project. We may end up talking about it later on, but there are always things that are just interesting, that are fascinating. And I always found important for people to, find the knowledge for themselves and seek it out. And I think like the one thing that I would say about myself, I'm always willing to change my opinion if I realize my opinion is wrong. But you better really know your facts right to change my opinion, because I'm gonna step up and I'm gonna be the feisty partner. But if you show me that I'm wrong, then I'm just gonna go, thank you so much, because I've learned. And that's kind of my philosophy. So I always seek the answers, and I always love people who seek the answers for themselves, so who try to take the power, so who don't necessarily take everything at the face value.
Yeah, that's something hard to come by in today's society, especially here in America. We got a lot of people that are they don't want new information brought to them. They like being stuck in their mental mindset right now. You try to tell them something, fake news or something like that, or that's not true. I've got, those are alternative facts. No, there's no such thing as alternative facts. A fact is a fact. And that's what I tell people all the time. If they, especially whenever they want to debate me, okay, great, let's debate. Bring the facts and the evidence. Change my mind. But in order to do that, you're going to have to be able to prove to me your stance. Show me the evidence-based information. And that's kind of what you and I were talking about on the phone about the CBD and the hemp and things like that. We're gonna touch on that, but yeah, it's changed my mind about it and actually show me the evidence. And that's I'm like you. I read continually. I am constantly looking for new information. And I'm one of these people that once I get turned onto something, I dive headfirst into it. I want all the information. I will start buying books left and right. I will start watching seminars online. Probably my best investment I've ever made is Great Courses Plus.
These are awesome. Love them.
I love those because I'll just put on. I'll be at work and I'll just put on a whole seminar that's going to last all day long and listen to it. I'll put it in podcast mode and just listen to it all day long. Listening to a clinical psychologist talk about the brain and how it works, or listening to a philosopher compare philosophy with science fiction. And it's really interesting to do things like that because I feel it educates me.
Absolutely.
I'm breaking that cycle of ignorance is how I feel about it. And I love the fact that you were saying that you read all the time. My kids love to read. And I'm glad that's one thing I was able to instill in them is the love and the passion for reading. And I mean, you can go far with it. I've recently started rereading Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's the Sherlock Holmes series.
Oh, I love them. I love them.
Yes.
I wish he wrote more. I wish he didn't die so soon. But I went through them many times. Actually, my children's book series is sorry for jumping your words.
Go for it.
My children's book series is a complete tribute to Sherlock Holmes because my children's book series is the Detective Bella Unleashed is about the two dogs, the Siberian Husky and Grr AC, where the Grr is her actually title, so she's called Grr AC, and the Husky is basically a Sherlock Holmes in a dog form, and AC in a female dog form, and AC is Dr. Watson. And just as much as the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle books are told from perspective of Dr. Watson, he is the one who says the stories. My stories are told by Gracie, by the Gracie, by the poodle, who is the educated one who went to all the doggy schools, who does have the education. So she kind of represents that, it's my author's bow down.
An homage.
To one of the greatest books that that existed. So.
Oh, I love the series. I actually got them on Audible too because they actually have an excellent narrator who voice acts the books. And let's see, I've had the whole Sherlock Holmes series forever, and then I saw them on Audible, and I was like, well, let me check these out. So I clicked on them, and it was like, oh yeah. I'm getting into this.
And amazing. I actually, when I was when I started writing the Detective Bella book series, I went and I studied about Sherlock Holmes and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I'm sorry, my English always doesn't say the names right. But anyway, Doyle, when he first introduced Sherlock Holmes, he did it because he was really tired of the crime books at the time. And he said that in every single one, and it's so true. And if you start watching like TV shows or anything crime, you realize how much it's still everyone's doing it. And that's what sets him apart. How much chance plays a role in solving the crime. That somebody randomly has something, that there is something handy, you find something handy. In any of the Sherlock Holmes series, you will never find Sherlock Holmes having a chance. He always predicts, he always plans. Everything he knows, it's because of the knowledge. So, and that's really was the reason why he started it. And that's what really sets it apart. And that's what makes it so brilliantly genius, because a lot of times when author just does not have any idea how to move forward with a book or a story, especially a crime, then you randomly find something that leads you towards something else, but it's random. Or you can pick up random object that helps you out of situation that you're stuck in. And this never ever happens in his. And so I was super duper fascinated by it. So I wanted to create a series in dog world where I was saying like, I will give all my dogs everything the dog has. So they have an enhanced sense of smell and these things, but they cannot communicate with people. They don't talk. They are not equipped with any kind of higher power than a dog actually could have. Like the other series. So like all of my, it's for children and everything. It's done in a way the dogs communicate with each other and they talk to each other, but they cannot talk to humans. And so they do talk with each other as animals, but I'm trying, like with my series, I was trying to eliminate the chance as well. I try to eliminate the superpowers that a lot of times these things, even for children, the animals have for children, that I'm giving them what they actually have from the nature, and I'm taking that as my own boundary as an author and sticking inside that box that they can hear. And so like when I had my first one, I had cats there, and like I remember having to research if cats can hear as well as dogs, because they were rivals, and I wanted to make sure that if one hears it, whether the other one can or cannot hear it. And do. Cats have just as good of a hearing as dogs. So, but like the things like that, and this was very fascinating. So I'm really happy you like Sherlock Holmes, because I loved him. I was like totally stole my heart since I was a teenager or whenever I read him first.
I think the first time I read those books, I was probably just coming out of elementary school, and I stumbled across them in the library, and I was like, oh, the complete collection of Sherlock Holmes. Great. I've seen some. Back then, I think back in the 80s, there was a movie released. It was called Young Sherlock or something. And I watched it, and I was like, oh, it's pretty good. And I knew about the story of Sherlock Holmes because obviously a kid growing up, if you've watched any kind of Disney or anything like that, you got the Great Mouse Detective. Of course, he dressed like Sherlock Holmes. And so you knew who he was, but once I was able to get my hands on the book, like you said, nothing was left up to chance. Everything was deduced and predicted, a lot like science is today. We don't just leave science up to chance. We make predictions by looking at the evidence and the facts, and those facts lead us to the predictions, and when those predictions come true, you have your evidence.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I'm glad I just stumbled across that. It was a great conversation for us to talk about. So I mean, that was good. You and I were talking, and we wanted to cover a few things this evening. One of the topics we wanted to talk about was taking responsibility of our health and putting our health back into our own hands, and which is basically what your book, Hear Your Body Whisper, was about. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Yes. Like definitely I would say like one of my huge life philosophies is that whatever is happening to you when it comes to your health and your body, I have absolutely no problem if somebody goes to seek a doctor, if they go seek, whether it's a traditional doctor, whether it's a holistic doctor, whether it's a shaman, whether it's a psychic. It doesn't matter, but every time you do that, you are going to ask someone else about the body you reside in. And so basically to me is what I'm trying to give people, and if I can give something to this world, is for the people to take this in their hands first, and after they assess and have the chance to be with their body themselves and realize how their body functions and listen to it. And it's Hear Your Body Whisper, and my book is about. It's about actually learning the language your body speaks to you first. Then you can make a decision what your body really wants, and when is the right time, and who is the right person to ask for help. Because absolutely, I'm not, there's nothing against the helping or sourcing outside help, but oftentimes it's not needed, and it's not needed more often than we think, because our body is equipped with self-healing mechanism. Everything in our body is made in a way that it will mend back together to its own balance. But everything has to be in balance. And the problem is that a lot of times we go to the doctor, and you go there with, a headache, and they prescribe you something for your headache or migraines, and it will offset something. It might offset your liver. It might offset something else. And you can go to the Chinese doctors who look at body more holistically, which is awesome. But then again, they're still not inside your body. If you first give the power to your body, it might take a little bit of balancing act for the body to do, but everything balances. And once you balance everything, then nothing goes wrong. Everything connects to everything in your body. And if you start with like pills, medications, other stuff, sometimes they're okay, but oftentimes they can cause something else go off balance, and then you're just becoming this game of like the huge teeter totter where you're like trying to like, here I have to hit it and here I have to hit it to hit the balance, where just taking yourself out of that place and just supporting your body, it takes a little bit of balancing act for the body itself, but it's its natural desire. Your body's natural desire is to be healthy, because if it's not, if you're not healthy, if you die, then your body cannot give up on you. You can give up on your body and you can like trash it, but your body never gives up on the soul, because without that soul, without having you to putting the food in your mouth and everything, without your conscious decisions to do things to stay alive, the body would be dead. And so the body actually needs you, and it will never ever, and it never ever has given up on you and never will.
And I've heard of my wife works in the medical field too, and we've had this conversation about antibiotics and stuff like that when we've talked with other people. It's like, okay, you're given an antibiotic for a certain thing. Take it all. Don't just take part of it and like 2 days later and say I'm done, because what you end up doing is you end up building what's called an antibiotic resistance in your body, and that can have other effects like messing up your gut biome and things like that. Now, I'm not saying that everybody needs to have an antibiotic for certain things, but yes, if you need medical attention, get the medical attention. But
absolutely.
But like what we were discussing, I discussed this with Hope last night. We need to take the time to disconnect from everything around us and connect back with ourselves, because who better is going to know what's going on in your body than you? And
definitely,
if we're busy constantly playing with one of these and not paying attention to ourselves or what's going on around us, that's where the problems are going to start happening. I'm a firm believer in disconnect for a little bit. I was actually I brought this up yesterday, and I'm going to bring it up again today. I stumbled across a book called The 3-Day Challenge, and she was taking people out into the wilderness, into the forest and the mountains, but they could not take electronics with them or anything like that. They totally disconnected from the outside, from the civilization, and just absorbed nature. And the studies that they did, because they took a scientist with them, and he had everybody hooked up to meters before they went out, and then after they were out there, at the end of the day, he would check pulses. He'd do like had the skull cap with the different meters on it to read the brain waves and things like that. And it was amazing. By the end of the third day, some of these veterans that had PTSD that they took out there were no longer feeling the anxiety or the depression and things of that, and their cognitive abilities increased because he gave them like an old Sanskrit type book and was like, okay, I want you to read from this page. And they're like, well, I don't understand. Just sound it out the best you can. And by day 3, it was like they were reading a regular book. They didn't know what they were reading, but they could pronunciate the words correctly and stuff, because cognitively they had basically let go of all the clutter, and their brain just opened up, and they were more conscious about what was going on within them and within their body, within their emotions, their psyche, everything. It was a really interesting study, and they had I picked that up on Audible.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. It does make sense, because you have people that, like you said, with the phones, the problem is that we actually take what's now, the now moment, and we'll take it somewhere else. You're taking to be in a state of flow. And to me, to be in a state of flow, it's pretty much the same as being in a state of very much now. The more intense, the further you go in your own capability of experience the presence, and the more you're capable of letting go of whatever happened yesterday, whatever is going to come in 10 seconds from now.
Mm-hmm.
The more you're grounded in a moment, that's the space where everything in your body heals, opens up, talks, communicates, and you can be like, it's beyond anything powerful. It's it's sitting under the Bodhi tree. It's experiencing nirvana. And you can experience it to a certain level, right? Like everybody experiences this to just a certain way. You bring somebody to the forest, you're going to be overwhelmed by the nature and it's going to breathe at you. You're going to have the extra oxygen. You're going to have phytochemicals in the air. You have a lot of happening, and without like putting yourself into something else, without snapping a selfie, which you do in a thought, and already when you're snapping the selfie, you go like, oh, I wonder how many likes I'm gonna get on Facebook for this selfie, right? And so all these things that already takes you apart, and even like having a conversation about anything else but what is there at the moment, it's taking you away. It takes the part of brain that has like imagination, and it's naturally, I mean, it's part of our brain. Like we go and we'll take it and we'll go and sit somewhere else. But once we're somewhere else in that space, whenever we are in a virtual world, and even if you go, even if you think, even you're thinking about something that it's not thinking about what's happening now, that takes away this linking communication with your body, with your higher beings, with the higher selves, with the universe, with God, essentially, if you want to believe in God, in any kind of divine, on whatever spiritual grounds you want to set it. And even if you don't want to set it on spiritual grounds and you want to set it on atheistic grounds, you're connecting to the very moment of everything what's happening inside yourself. And that is the space where it is scientifically proven that your cells have the highest capacity of rejuvenating if you're in that moment. So whatever you do, like it could be, even if you would be, let's say, a junkie riding motorcycles and you get off for like really fast thrill ride where you have to stay in a second because every next second can cost you your life. That's the moment when you ground yourself in that very present, in that very moment of the state of being. And this is what athletes of like high level athletes experience, because they have to, like when they perform their sport at that level, they have to be so much in a moment that they can do with their body something that it's impossible to think for anyone who even just does that sport on recreational level. If you do it on recreational level, you're not capable of getting it to their level, but they get to that level because they experience now so strongly and so vividly that the sport itself, it's just a conduit of the experience that will flood you with dopamine and adrenaline and everything, and you get this whole chemical show happening in your body, which brings everything, like all this release of these neurotransmitters that we have right now. We know over 100 of them that happening in a moments like this. If you find these special moments, then your body just goes on this like extra super fast healing session. And that's why you have people who go like, like some people, they get cancer and like something wakes up in their brain and they go like, you know what, I may die very soon and I may have just a few months to live, and I'm going to be the person who's going to choose not to go the traditional way of healing. And there are people who set on a trip around the world because they go like, fuck it, I'm sorry for my language.
You can say it on my show. My show's explicit.
All right. But I'm going to go travel around the world. I'm going to go live. And if I'm going to die in a year, I'm going to die. And then you have these people who come back in a year and they go like, you know what? I had a chance to whatever, sing with the rock band on the stage over there. I traveled there and the cancer goes away without nothing, without any kind of additional healing. And that's why they also say like, you got to have it like well in your head, but it's something that people can try to achieve. And then you have people who achieve it. And, hence there comes the art of it. Not every one of us can do this in a way they want, but it's definitely something that every one of us should strive. We should strive to be able to experience the moment. Like for me, what helps me, if I could say like one thing that helps me to be able to stay in those now moments and to ground myself. Whenever you stress, the best thing is to ground yourself. That's why it's like you breathe, because the breath brings you to inside your body where you're at right now. is like, I love floating. I love going in the sensory deprivation tanks where you close inside and you float on a high salty water, and so you're just laying on the water, spend hour and a half in a darkness, in a silence, in basically not experiencing gravity, not experiencing anything. And in that place can, like, I feel myself whenever I go float and whenever I come out, that like something rebalances back inside me, and I come out to this world and I'm able to face those things because I'm put back into the balance, a very calm balance.
I've tried a sensory deprivation chamber before, and it is intense. Most people would think, oh, you're getting closed up into a dark area. Yeah, it's dark. It is sensory deprivation. You're just. It is basically when you're in there floating in that water. They put the water, the salt. For those of my listeners who may not know what a sensory deprivation chamber is, the water matches your body temperature perfectly. The way they set up, they'll match your body temperature perfectly, so you don't even feel the water. And the salt content is put in there to make you buoyant, to where you are basically just floating on water that is the same body temperature as you. So you basically feel like you're floating in space, in air. That's it. No lights, no sound, no nothing. You are basically in there with your own brain. And the first 5 minutes of it, your brain's going to go ape shit trying to figure out what the hell is going on.
Scary company, huh?
Yes, it is.
Like, you become your own scary company.
I'm a horror writer, so yes, my brain can go to weird places.
But eventually you said, I actually think my brain does not even want me to think of like bad things or distractive things. I just go into, and every time the experience is different. Every time I go float, the experience is different. But in the end, sometimes I fall asleep. So sometimes I feel like, oh, I go there to solve something. Sometimes I go there with an intention to ponder something, and I go in there and I start pondering, and my brain just shuts off and I fall asleep, and I sleep through the entire time I float, and then I come out. But it's a different sleep. It's, you get in a different type of sleep, and you always come out, like, at least I always come out being much more set in a moment, being much more clear and able to face other things. Because obviously, like, in your life, you have to think of your future, you have to take in consideration your past, you have to do these things. But whenever you can, like, ground to these moments can bring you to where, like, meditations try to bring you. Everything else, like the meditations, anything you do, I feel it's always just, that's the same thing like that athletes, it's just that conduit, it, like, something that's just trying to bring you to now. And the more you can experience now, the better you're gonna be, the healthier you're gonna be, the easier way you're gonna have to take on life in whatever challenge it may present itself.
Yeah, I've heard so many stories of people that have done deprivation chambers, and some of them who have had other experiences have likened the experience to like going to see a shaman in Peru and doing the ayahuasca, and or taking the DMT or the synthetic mushrooms or something. And I know a few people who have actually used the DMT and done the deprivation. And it's like he said, they've all said it is a life-changing experience. The one tried to describe it to me like he saw the whole universe open up, and it was like he was just going through it. And it was interesting, but it changed. It literally changed him, because I mean, he was a horrible person to begin with, like violent tendencies and stuff like that. And now he's the most calm person you could ever.
Can definitely do that.
Yes. Well,
you can see the deeper in a universe, that to be able to connect. And
well, since we're on the topic,
there's many ways to get there. Like, to me, the sensory deprivation tech, it's a good one because it helps you to get out of your head and reduce your sensory outside. But
get rid of that sensory input.
And as intense focus can do that too, right? If you're gonna step on a top
meditation
of the sharp hill, and if you're going to meditate and you're going to lay down and be in a peaceful mind, you can train yourself to get there. If you're going to stand on top of the mountain and you're going to go snowboard it down, that you have to be so intensely in that present moment that nothing really matters anymore. Like what matters is right there, what is in front of you, because every second, if your mind goes away for a single second, you may die. And that's the other thing. Like that's the other thing that I think it's hard to like almost say it, because it's an advice you don't want to give your children, but you want to give to everyone else but your kids. It's that sometimes you kind of have to risk your life in order to appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you put yourself in a situation that you push these boundaries, that you know that you have to be intense and you intensely have to focus on what you're doing, otherwise your life can be lost. These moments make you appreciate life on a level like nothing else does. And
Yep.
that's again this intense focus, this intense moment when you appreciate life can make you like so hungry and so vividly alive. And that brings you like, and this is like me going back to finding people who are fascinated by something because they have this life inside them. I just love people that just live life in a way as there is no tomorrow, and though these people usually do things for tomorrow, those are the people who are the scientists, like those are the people who actually make these big changes for tomorrow, but they're just like, they eat it up every day or as much as they can, and the more you can, the more you're able to experience life to its fullest, the more you appreciate it, the more you're connected to everything, and everything works out. The easier it is to overcome any hurdles in life. Easier it is to just face stuff.
It's finding your purpose. Like these scientists that just, this is their life. It drives them. They found a purpose, and they know this purpose has an end goal, and it excites them to reach that goal. It's like I was an avid mountain biker. For the longest time, I used to actually ride my bike back and forth to work before the traffic got so bad around here. And when I'm riding my bike, like you said, doing things like snowboarding, things like that, when I'm riding my bike, I am so in tune with what's going on. It's like my body is part or one with the bike. Feel every vibration. I can feel what's going on and this and that. And I feel so much better, even not just physically from riding the bike, but mentally I feel better after doing a bike ride, especially doing like a 20-mile bike ride or something.
Absolutely. Plus exercise in its own self, it's I think exercise along with sleep, or sleep and exercise, are the two most critical things you can do for your brain to be better. Like there is like, whatever diet you eat, all that comes so far, and it's scientifically proven. Like we just get so cooked up that we gotta whatever drink, have in the morning our coffee with a giant spoon of butter and MCT oil and whatever, like, and people go like, this will boost your brain. That set aside, like all these things actually make pretty minute things versus the things how much you can do just by simply sleeping more than 7 hours a night, and by doing some sort of exercise. Like there is nothing that can replace these two things, no matter what you do. And
I actually read a study here recently. They were talking about the epidemic of depression, anxiety, and suicide attempts with teenagers in America, and a lot of it is linked back to the lack of sleep, because they're so caught up with their electronics and having to stay online all the time. They're constantly going. They never take that time to disconnect and actually get a full night's sleep. Some of these kids that's why my kids aren't allowed to have phones and stuff in their room at night. When it's bedtime, it's bedtime. Phones and everything are out here. They're plugged in on my desk. And no, sleep is to do that. Because a lot of kids are actually, parents don't parent, I guess you could say. They don't parent their child. And they've left them alone in a room with a TV, an Xbox, video games, phones, and stuff like that. And they're staying up to like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then having to get up at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning to go and start the whole day over again. And it's that
Absolutely.
lack of sleep. And there was a whole study on that, and I found it very interesting. And all the kids, it was like 3,000 people that they surveyed in this, and all these kids, it was the same thing. It was electronics and social media and things like that were actually keeping them from getting the complete 8 hours sleep they get. These kids were running on 3 hours of sleep a night.
That's really bad. That's true. It's really bad. And I've seen a study that the one thing that I gotta give like to stand on like the teenager side, their brain is in development. So at that age, like we think, you and I think much more in prefrontal cortex. They think out of their amygdala at that time. They're still developing. Their brain it's basically developing till they're about 25. I've talked to, I was super lucky to talk to one of our greatest neuroscientists on the subject about the brain, and he says that our brain actually is at its peak when you're about 60. So there is hope for people like us that we still actually we still perfect the brain, although certain parts of cognitivity goes down after like 30 years. Other parts take precedent, and so actually our brain is stronger about when we're about 60 years old. But anyway, so the children, when they're going through this age and this development, they're actually circadian rhythm, it's naturally going to sleep later, and they should get up later. And the problem is that we make them get up too early for schools, and it's almost not their fault. I mean, the electronics, absolutely, the blue light and all this, absolutely, they definitely should not have it in their room. They definitely should leave it, not only for looking at it because it gives out a blue light, but because it also inserts different thoughts in their mind to keep their brain going on different things instead of settling down, just like the nature that settles down at the evening, that the temperature settles down, the light settles down, everything sort of starts to get this sleepy mode in the nature. And so should we, instead of being wound up by playing some video games where you have to be sharp, where you have to be on speed, on point of catching something, shooting something, or whatever, thinking in any kind of way. But they actually should not be getting up super early in the morning. There was this school somewhere in the Midwest, when they started school at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then the following year, they actually moved the start of the school till 9. And change in this 1 hour that made because some of the further school buses, the kids who were starting at 8 were leaving on a school bus at 6:15 in the mornings, because they had the far commuting kids. And so by changing it for an hour, they dropped their car accidents, their teenagers in high school drop car accidents ratio by 87%. 87%. Wow. That was amazing. And that's just them getting a little more sleep. And so we, as a grown-ups, we have the tendency to push these kids. I don't even send my own child to school. I homeschool her now. She's doing an online school. So I don't even make her get up in the morning. And I can't imagine to do these things. And she tells me at night, and I don't let her have these things, but she says, like, Mommy, I can't sleep anyway. So she stays up till midnight. She's 12 years old. She goes to bed at 11. I let her listen to audiobooks. So that's one thing I'm letting her do in the evening, because like that actually is a good thing to help and promote the sleep, to listen to some books. So she listens to her audiobooks in bed. It's the only thing she has there. But oftentimes she still cannot fall asleep. And so I see it a lot. And like right now we talk about, like, I'm working on a book about the brain. So the brain study is huge of my interest at the moment. And I see that she can't fall asleep. I can see that she's 12, she's going to be 13. She's hitting the puberty age, the teenage age. And I see this shift in her brain happening regardless of anything. And I see her needing her sleep later in the morning. And so it's kind of sad, but there's really nothing we can do about it if the kids go to regular school, if they have to be there on certain time point.
Yeah, see, my kids
can do about it.
My kids do go to regular school, but on the weekends, don't make them get up at the crack of dawn. There's mornings I'll be up and doing stuff, and my wife will be like, well, "Where are they at?" No, they're still in bed. I'm like,
Yeah, come on, you have a private time, quiet time with your wife.
yeah.
Kids don't
It's
bother
like,
you.
and it's like,
Enjoy it.
shh, don't say anything. Enjoy this.
Right? Look, I always feel like if I get up, I want to be tippy-toeing. Otherwise, all the animals, it's not just my daughter really not, but like all the animals, everybody's going to be asking me for food. That's how I
Yes,
feel like I'm at home. I have too
food, and
many
I need to
pets. And
go
every time I get
outside.
up, like I'm like walking, I'm like personal chef to everyone around me. Like the animals like, Mom, let
Yes,
me out. We got to go potty and now feed me.
yes, mine do the exact same thing. You and I were discussing that prior to doing this show. I've got 7 dogs, uh, 24 chickens, 3 ducks, a cat, bunch of goldfish.
I know it was like a competition between two of us who's got more pets.
Like, well, I can up you on that. I have 24 chickens.
I think we have a dozen chickens. We have chickies now that we actually hatched out of under the hen, mother hen. So we're
Oh, wow.
experiencing the actually true natural birth of little chicks. And it's amazing to see how when they're born with the mother in a flock, how they integrate without having like pecking order. Because whenever you bring like new chickens to your other, they usually try to peck them away. But because these were born there, they're like, everybody takes them, and actually another hen took care of
Yeah,
them, so they have like 2 mommies. It's so funny.
they're part of the
It's really
clan now. They're part of the tribe.
it's yeah, it's definitely, that's other things like how you can experience nature and everything, and now is just by having pets, and that's another like really grateful things to um, have your kids around if you're raising children,
Mm,
to have, even if they can have a goldfish, even if they can have one single pet, like it totally changes. Their studies on that too, like it changes who they are, the kindness in how they're
hmm
raised and how they perceive life. They are much less susceptible to stress if they grow
Every
up with any pet.
yes, every day when I come home, uh, my kids have already gotten home from school, and by the time I get home, my 2 younger ones are already out at the chicken coop, got the gate open, and they're inside of the fenced area, sitting on the ground. They've already taught these chickens that they're pets because they'll just be sitting on the ground. These chickens will walk up, sit in their lap, and do all kinds of stuff. And this is every day since we got them. And they thoroughly enjoy interacting with them. The ducks do the exact same thing. They run around and splash water. It's hilarious.
It's the best way. You're doing a great job as a dad.
It teaches them something. I've been an animal lover my whole life, and for somebody to I have no sympathy or remorse for somebody who shows cruelty to animals. Because if they're willing to do that, they're willing to do that to me. Kind of how
Mm-hmm.
I look at it. Yeah. Well, let's jump over. You and I were talking about something that's come up quite a bit on my show here lately with all the legislation that is going around. Hemp and CBD.
Excited to talk about
Yeah, you
it.
guys have a little inside scoop on this, don't you?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm super happy to talk about it. So, this one is passion. I married a person whose eyes lights up for hemp and for
Yeah.
growing hemp. And so my husband, he's been 27 years in the industry, traveled the world, done it, worked for medical foundation in Switzerland, back in the dark ages when in America it was like super dark ages, and so he's been around other places in the world, and definitely he is an amazing breeder and has his strains in CBD. And actually, when the whole talk about legalizing cannabis and it became legal and it became medically legal, at that time everybody was talking about THC. The CBD didn't
Mm.
come in a picture way later. Like, so he and his company, uh, he was giving, and he set up a little charity program that we were giving CBD. We call it a CBD for the OMMP, Oregon Medical Marijuana Program. Like, we were the first one. His company was the very first one who was just doing that, who was talking about CBD and who brought it out to any kind of not only public eye, but we were giving it to patients. And we were seeing the amazing results and hearing incredible stories of, I till this day we only talk to so many people who, for example, had kids with autism.
Mm-hmm.
But till this day, there was not a case of someone who had a kid with autism who didn't end up crying to telling us, just thanking us, like how it changed their life. Like their tears every single time, they just shed tears and going, my child, as if my child got soul. Just having my child to give you a hug and tell you I love you for the first time in their life, because they started putting them CBD. It's life-changing. It's life-changing to see it in people. It's amazing. I can't, just to make the legal disclaimer here, I can't make any medical claims because it's not my, I'm not professional. I cannot make any medical claims for CBD or for this plant. But the stories are there. We can all hear these stories, and
I've heard several.
Amazing.
Yeah, I've heard several stories too of different people, and I've read a lot of articles where they've actually talked to people who've had children with epilepsy and things of that nature. And like this one article,
seizures in seconds. If you've seen videos of kids when they just shoot them some CBD like up their nose, so it goes right in those glances, it takes seconds. It's a level of 20 seconds of a kid in complete seizure to seize the seizure down to nothing.
Yeah, and this one article that I read, this guy was talking about his son was having on average 15 to 20 seizures per day. And we're not talking like a small seizure. We're talking the violent ones where he would actually fall on the floor and be banging his head, and somebody would have to hold him to make sure he doesn't injure himself. And they got him started on the CBD. And it's like day one they started him on CBD.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually got, I believe from reading the article, they actually were able to get get it medically, have the card to get everything medically and legally, and they were allowed to actually grow the plants at their home. They could only have like 3 plants, I think, but it was strictly for medical reasons for their son. And they found that by making him like edibles and things like that, it helped him out overall, and they're hoping that eventually he may not have to take it anymore. But it helped with the seizures, and I've heard so many stories like that. I've heard the CBD oil topical ointments. A lot of MMA fighters use it. A lot of people in karate and different type of athletics and sports that are involved with actually hammering the body and putting your body under intense pressure and strain and stuff. It helps with the inflammation in the joints.
Mm-hmm,
it's amazing stuff.
It's amazing. It's amazing. The thing is that we as mammals, all the mammals, we have our own endocannabinoid system in our body.
Mm-hmm.
And so we produce our own, like everybody who says like, I wouldn't smoke pot, and they look at it as like some devil's thing. We produce it. It doesn't matter. It's in a mother's milk. And the truth is, and this is really fascinating to me, that endocannabinoid system is detectable in embryo as soon as we detect the embryo. It's the first thing we can detect in an embryo. It's endocannabinoid system in the embryos is responsible to grow the entire brain. It creates the brain cells. So it is inside a woman's body. It's the reason why the endocannabinoid system settles the embryo in a place. It makes sure that the pregnant woman stays pregnant. It's in our breast milk. So we all need it. And so what happens that we create our own endocannabinoids. And the two the one famous one is anandamide, which has its anandamide receptors. It's the joy. It causes joy. It's something that we have in a heightened whenever we experience joy. We release anandamide. I love that word, anandamide. It always sounds so fun to say. That we release that in our body, and the neurons, they have their like little keyholes, and anandamide is the key, and it snaps in, and once they click in together, that releases the anandamide, and we experience joy, and we experience healing. And THC, for example, that's the very similar key. It's another key that can fit inside the anandamide receptors in our brain. And so this is what we do when we use an CBD, fits in a CB2 receptors. That's for neurotransmitter that's on shortly called 2-AG. The long word is like 2-arachidonylglycerol. And I might have butchered it because it's a crazy word to say, but it's 2-AG in a short term. And so the 2-AG and CBD have extremely close molecular structure. And so the truth is that unlike the anandamide that we need sometimes, you don't need to experience joy. You cannot be overly joyful all the time.
Yeah.
So it has its place and it has its healing powers as well, but it's not so overflooded like the 2-AG. The 2-AG is pretty much throughout our entire nervous system, and it's the base of everything. That's why, because it's our building block, it's something that if we miss in our body, it can cause all problems. The 2-AG receptors, if they're wrong, that causes autism. The seizures are, here, these things are so evident, so strong that like a second's exposure to CBD can heal the problem like that fast. But, any kind of anti-inflammatory system, anything that can be inflamed can be, it responds, I should not say, again, I cannot make medical claims, but it responds positively to the 2-AG, which if your body is not producing enough, you can supplement by CBD, because CBD structure is very close to the 2-AG structure, and it can fit in a 2-AG's receptors that are throughout our entire system. And like I said, because it's our building blocks, from you can almost look at it as like stem cells.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to make it like a medical claim, but it's a base building block. And if you have a base building block wrong, it pretty much everything can shatter inside you. And the CBD is a really, really amazing thing. And it's, again, like, this is something that I'm really excited, and it's my may I tell you about my current project?
Yes, go. Let's do the webinar we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
Let's go into that. I'll give you the full screen.
Thank you. Well, here comes to the thing that I believed, and I still believe, that the people should take their health in their own hands. And because CBD helps so much, so incredibly many parts of our bodies, I wanted to give the people the chance to grow hemp, because finally in 2019, hemp is legal in all 50 states. Unfortunately, not every state can grow at home hemp. So some places they might be like some licensure things, but overall we're talking like hemp is legal, right? And so if you can, and in most states you can, and if anybody really was interested in it and wanted to contact me, they can, and I can actually like tell them like a little closer, or they can find out about how is their state exactly about it. But you can grow the hemp yourself, and amazingly enough, it is pretty simple. It's not that difficult to extract the CBD at home in your own kitchen with everything you just have at home. You don't need anything extra special to do it. Now, a lot of companies, they started with mass production of CBD, of growing hemp for CBD. I am so excited about giving people chance, the opportunity to grow their own hemp, because when they do it themselves, they can actually be extracting out of the best parts of the plant. Where right now, what's happening on a mass scale, they just take the entire everything and they turn the plant in a complete biomass. They shred everything that's, including the stalk, everything goes in. And then it goes through these huge extraction processes that needs to be extremely closely monitored in order to extract the CBD properly. And you don't always extract like the full spectrum of the cannabinoids. A lot of times they extract the distillate, which then ends up being only about 10% useful as if you were using the full spectrum CBD. So a lot of people, sometimes I run into people, they go like, yeah, I was told that like CBD will help me with this problem, and then it didn't do anything for me. And to me, it's like a lot of times to say, it's not necessarily that they didn't do anything for you. It's just that you were getting a wrong product. You were getting a distillate. You were getting something that your body doesn't respond to because it's not meant to respond to it.
Yeah.
That's why you didn't have the desired result. And so by having my husband who's produced, he's got 11 his own strains, and they're amazing strains that are specifically created for health reasons, for people with specific issues. And we're getting them patented. They're actually breaking down the DNA, and they're exactly counting the DNA so we can patent the strains that we know that what he did. And he's producing feminized seed because this plant grows male, female. I don't know who knows or doesn't know the health benefits the CBD comes from. Like we always, like all the best things in life comes from the mother, comes from the woman, right? We women are the healers. And it's the same thing with the plant. The healer of the plant is the female. Okay. And so you cannot expose the male. If the male comes along and he's going to mess everything up. He fertilizes the female, you're done. Then the production goes into making the baby, making the seed, and you don't have the CBD. So you got to grow the female without the presence of the male. And so we have this feminized seed that like we actually know the seed will come into mama, come into a female, and you can grow yourself and you can extract it yourself. And I really wanted to give this opportunity to regular people because CBD, it's so overpriced. It's incredible. The price. Oh, it
is. I've looked at locally. There's several places throughout all my surrounding areas, and I've gone into a few of the like vape shops and stuff like that, and they'll have a bottle of CBD oil up there, and it's like it's some ridiculously low percentage of CBD oil in it, but it's like $40.
Right. And if you have a kid who's got 20 seizures a day, the $40 will last you 2 days.
Yeah.
Then you're going through thousands. Like we gave away, when we had a patient who were having cancer, we were donating $3,000 worth of medicine. And that was a $3,000 wholesale medicine per month to the patient to make sure that they can, and it's hard because like when we've seen the people who really needed this help, it's hard to say you can't do it. And these people a lot of times can't hold jobs. If you have a child that needs special care, or if you yourself need special care, you might have a spouse. If you're lucky, you're making your ends meet. And a lot of people, they can't even make their ends meet. So where they can source this medicine, they end up getting everything pharmaceutically from the doctors. That offsets other things and makes their child drowsy, or create some other problems. And so what I wanted to do is just giving this chance. And so we're doing the webinar that it's about how you grow your own hemp, and it's going to be the basics for bringing the people the chance to grow hemp for their own CBD that they can extract in the end of the year. Because one plant, if you just grow one single plant, hemp plant, and you extract the CBD out of it, you can extract out of one plant enough CBD that if you need it as a heavy user, and I mean like truly heavy user, I mean cancer, autism, multi-daily seizures, one plant can sustain one person a full year. So,
and also hemp grows a lot faster than a lot of other plants like your average plants. Am I correct in this?
It's a perennial plant. So if you grow, you still have to wait through the whole cycle. It's not like you're going to, unless you're under artificial lights, then you can speed up the lights because you are, no matter what, it grows big. Of course you can, and it depends on a breed. Again, depends on a strain. Some strains can grow over the top of your head and they can be, 10 feet tall. Some strains can be short. So it's kind of like you have your dogs. You can have your Great Dane, you can have your Chihuahua. Neither means that the quality of the medicine is compromised. A lot of times it's just it depends on a genetic makeup, which hemp helps what, and what is the one that suits your needs the most. But it's definitely sustainable. Under artificial lights, you can run the life cycle of the plant. If you go really fast, you can run the life cycle of the plant in about 3 months. The webinar we're putting on is really for an average person, a person who just does not have the time, or does not want to take the time to learn, or doesn't have the places to have it in artificial environment. So it's really set to be outdoors. So, and in that case, it's a perennial plant. You would plant it, let's say beginning of June would be your start out of the seed, and you can grow and then harvest your plant in about October. And this really, if you're on the outside conditions, you can really speed it up. And the reason is the sun, because if you're in artificial conditions, you're changing the length of the light cycle, and the plant needs to grow through its light cycle. Yeah. So it's, if you look at it at a size wise, if you have something that's, 10, 12 feet tall plant, that some of the breeds can definitely be, and that grows from seed that you start in June, and even if it grows till October and it can grow really big, it definitely grows super fast. That it's fiber, fuel, food, medicine. Yes. The single plant does amazing things. And I definitely fully believe, just like we should take the power in our own hands with the body. I'm, to be honest, being so close to the industry and seeing my husband to be, he is a true hero. He really did amazing things. He helped the legislators to craft, they were calling him to craft the laws we have now here. And he was the first one talking about the CBD. We were the first one of giving it to patients, of bringing it out. And like now to see the level of profit that's in it, when we were really trying to help people to give the power. I mean, I talked to a mother who had a daughter who was having 100 seizures a day, and we were giving the medicine to her daughter. Then the law changed, and we had to change the law again, and we were not able to give her anything because of the law. And that's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to go to the person who you were helping, having her daughter have life, to tell her, I am sorry, I can't give you anything anymore.
Yeah,
and I can't even sell you. That's heartbreaking to be in that position as a person who knows, you have the power, but you were not able to. But now we can, and people can take it in their own hands. And a lot of people who have problems, even if they have taken care of, grandma, grandpa with dementia, it helps with these issues. Like the level of the 2-AG receptors in our brain, they are throughout the entire body. Like I said, the brain is really intense. So a lot of things that come with an issue with brain, including brain cancer, like down to anything that has anything to do with brain, it's extremely, again, I don't want to go use the word medicinal. I'm not in a place to legally say that. Yes. But it's responsive. The level of responsiveness to it, it just blows your mind. It warms your heart up, like makes you want to cry, makes you just want to just crash down and be grateful for every moment in your life, because it's incredible to see it. And I truly believe that anyone should really have an access to it. And that's why we're putting on the webinar. And I hope I'll send some links to you so people hopefully can sign up and they can see it's a free webinar, and anybody can join and see if they are in a position to grow hemp. Most likely, if you can find 3 by 3 feet of ground that you can grow in, or even pot, but have a 3 by 3 feet around for the size of the plant to grow in, that if you had a single plant, if you choose to grow single plant, you could almost do it even on your balcony or something. Yeah. If you can, we are in a place it's a beautiful time to be in 2019 and seeing this happening, because in most places it's a lot of places you don't need a license for just a couple plants, for a few plants. Some places you may need a medical license, but it's extremely easy to obtain, and for the value you can get out of it in the end, and the amount of money you can save. I mean, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars one can save if they do it themselves. And that's what I would like to really empower people, that they have the chance. Anyone has a chance.
I've read so many articles and so many research papers and watched so many documentaries on hemp itself. I mean, it's a far superior textile product. And right now in the United States, we've got the problems with well, I think that's going down now with the legislation that's going in and made hemp legal to grow in all 50 states now. But for the longest time, marijuana was considered a class 1 drug, so we couldn't do the research. Which you said your husband had to go to Switzerland and stuff. I know there's a group in Israel that has a huge compound there that does that. I don't know if you've ever seen that compound. It's like Fort Knox trying to get into that place. But they're able to do the medical research, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. They're developing the new strains. We got places in Switzerland, Amsterdam, and all these other places that are able to do it. And yet, here we are in the United States, and we're in the dark ages, basically. Everybody's losing their damn minds over, oh, it's weed, it's the devil's lettuce, or whatever they want to call it, or something. And it's like, and usually when I bring this topic up to somebody, and they were like, oh, it's bad for you. And this, and I'm like, okay, great. While you're sitting there drinking that beer, tell me how many people a year die from alcohol poisoning? And they were like, well, I don't know, but it's quite a few. And I said, okay, well, great. Tell me how many people a year die from marijuana overdose. And they're like, well, and I was big fat one, big fat zero, never. So.
Absolutely. But I have to say, like, it actually, the dark ages bring out excitement. And so, yes, like the one great thing, Israel, I don't know how far we're going to be able to catch up with them, because in Israel, the scientists, they were doing this for a really long time, and they have amazing things. And what is really exciting right now at this era, and to be in the United States right now, that the suppression, the decades of suppression, brought in something that I've seen in the decades of suppression when the communism broke and we became like free country and the capitalism could start, the people could start. Similar thing is happening now here. It may not trickle down to general public, but my husband is working with multiple universities and they're taking his strains, they're dissecting his plants, and these are the big, huge university studies. They are not nothing really small. They are really, really huge, big things happening. The studies are happening every day, and there are people out there who are fighting for it and who are discovering things literally every week. It's something new we find out, and it's absolutely amazing. So at the same time, it's really nice to be able to be in an era and to be able to view it, to be able to see it. Sad thing to me is that maybe a lot of people are not able to take advantage of it yet, because it's going to take some time before it's going to come to everyone. And to me, the saddest thing is cancer. Because, the THC causing apoptosis, what it does to cancer cells and how it can be utilized in many different kinds of, it does not help all types of cancers, but some things to be seeing, some studies of what it can do for cancer and cancer patients. I'm really excited for the future of the plant to help us and to bring this. But right now we still have to take down the walls to actually bring more of a clarity to it. And as a wife of a cannabis farmer, I'm the first one who says kids should not smoke or do any kind of THC. Yeah, it won't kill them, but it actually stops the brain development. So, unless it's for medical reason, they should not have THC put in their brain during their teenage years. That does not involve CBD, because CBD is not psychoactive. It binds to different receptors. So CBD is on a little different scale than, let's say, THC. but till somebody's like really in their 20s, it's not the best idea. And there are medical brain development reasons behind that. It's not going to kill them. It's probably, if you're going to have a teenager to go drunk or go get stoned, you want to have your teenager better get stoned than to get drunk, because one has, one can lead to much worse consequences as a result of it.
Yeah.
But it's not something that's, but you're right, absolutely, people don't die from it. We have endocannabinoid system, we don't have endo-alcoholic system. We impair ourselves with alcohol, but we don't have anything that was meant to be in a very similar way to that body produces on its own to help us, where our endocannabinoid system a lot of times needs that help because it might be out of whack. And if it's out of whack just a little bit, it can be causing so many problems. And just adding in the CBD that can fulfill the role of the 2-AG neurotransmitter can completely change life. It can completely change everything in a person. So it's a great thing. It's unfortunately, I think it's gonna take a while before we're gonna change people's opinion. My daughter is now in her health class. She's doing online school now. So she's like, shows me in her health class, there is a whole thing on like how cannabis is really bad. Mm-hmm. And how it's like, and they have like almost that it's worse than cigarettes, that it's going to cause lung cancer, which is absolutely not true. And it's been proven and we know it. And I feel like why they are pushing, I'm not saying they should not teach them that they should not get stoned when they're young, but what they're teaching them, they're just putting fear inside them and implementing things that really should not, should not be taught, in my opinion, because eventually, if they run into any problems, health problems themselves, or those that they love around them, they might not be willing to take the only medication that there is that has zero side effects.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of things, there is medication almost for anything, but for all those serious issues, the medicine from pharmaceutical companies has a serious side effects. Yeah. And while if we're supplementing the endocannabinoid system, we're not creating any side effects. We actually are truly doing what I was saying at the beginning, that we are bringing the balance back and we're empowering the body to do what the body needs to do.
I've actually, I know what you're talking about, seeing the different things that kids are being taught, because one of the things, I know our kids, my kids, cannabinoids is something that they've been discussing at their dad. They've even gone a step further. They've even started attacking vape mods and vaping and stuff, when we've already seen the research on it, that the CDC, the American Heart Association, all these other companies are medical universities, Harvard even did a study on it. It's 95% safer. So I mean, we're to a point where ignorance and I guess you could say dogmatic belief are preventing us from getting something out to people that is safer. It's literally, I think it's a lot of it is ignorance, and in some places, like I live here in the South, the way down south, we call it the Bible Belt. We got a lot of religious dogmas against any type of drug use. Yet everybody's fine with cracking a beer on Sunday or something. But so, I mean, it's going to be like what we were talking about at the beginning of the show. Re-education. We have to change people's minds.
It's a hard subject. I don't know if we ever will, because a lot of people just want to be close-minded until you're gonna have the people who are out of Bible Belt to read the Bible and actually see that Jesus was clothed in hemp, that the hemp actually played a huge part in the Bible, but it had to suit the modern needs to kind of take it away. And in the end, when they're gonna say like, look, the plan was given to you by God. If you want to believe in creation, then tell me, why would this plan be here? Why else? Why else when we have, and this is why I tell people, like, why else if we have endocannabinoid system in our body, we don't have, like I said, we don't have endo-alcoholic system, we don't have nicotine system, we get affected by these drugs.
Yes.
But they don't fit in, they don't do what cannabis does. They don't follow those what we create in our body on our own. It's a very unique, it's a very special connection that can be compared to other drugs because it's not set in the same way. The connection is different that it has inside our body once we ingest it. And so the education, I believe that almost anyone can, but it has to go, a lot of times it has to go up to those leaders who actually have the power to change those people's minds, to our teachers, to our priests, to those that we listen to. There will always be people, a majority of the people for whom it's much easier to settle with an opinion that they come to the point to agree with. And a lot of times the unfortunate things are indoctrinated as children. And that's the saddest thing. That's where I see the flaw of, the health class to teach children something like that, because they get indoctrinated in something while their brain is developing. And because their brain is developing, they're taking these things as facts, and it kind of seizes in like in a stone. And once the brain is already developed, they can't really change it very easily, those opinions, those ways, and it's the same thing, with other things we want to implement in our children. Something going to be put in certain fear. That's why it's important. It's hard, but it's really important for our children that they don't experience certain types of trauma.
Yeah.
Because those are really hard to come, to get across. Like it's becomes their life PTSD because it happened during childhood, because it happened during the time when the brain could not make sense of it yet, but it took it as an information that later on exists in a brain in a special place that it's so hard, so incredibly hard to change.
Yeah. Now, is your husband going to be involved with this webinar that you guys are putting together?
Yes. Oh, he's
Awesome.
gonna be my superstar. So I'm getting him. He's gonna be in the webinar. He's super busy with other projects because right now it's the spring season. So we're having the seeds and we're dealing. So he's dealing with a lot of other business. But I'm really happy I was able to get him for this. So he's gonna be
good.
Definitely, he's gonna be the one giving the webinar. He's gonna be the one talking about it and giving the chance to everybody to assess their situation. And pretty much almost anybody can. The truth is, you can.
We've got to. Well, that's why I'm excited about your webinar, because you're going to be giving people the information to where they can look it up and find out if their city ordinances or their state ordinances will allow them to do this. Because I can tell you right now, if I had a plant growing in my backyard, oh, hell would break loose around this community. They would be calling the sheriff's department and stuff. So we need to be educated on this. And I think at some point we're going to have to start educating our local law enforcement, because like, hey, no. This is legal here. You need to go look at your books before you slap some cuffs on me or something. I think right now, what are there 13 states that have not decriminalized it completely?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are something like that. There are a few states. There is like Texas.
Yeah, that's us here.
You're in Texas?
Yes, our congressman has said he's going to fight it to his dying breath. And
Texas and Idaho are like the two worst ones.
And so, but I think that's coming pretty quick because there's a lot of people, the backlash. I think with what we've been seeing in politics this past couple of years, when the new election cycle comes in, there's going to be a whole different change. And hoping it's for the better. I'm hoping it's more geared towards getting. I hope it's geared more towards people.
Mm-hmm.
Because the people are what really count in our country and in the world. I mean, we're not doing something that could benefit mankind. I have no problem with having hemp legalized. I've never had a problem with it. I've actually talked about this several times. This is not the first show I've done on this. I've had several people talk about it on our show, and I'm so glad that you did, because now I've got somebody who's coming from more of an official stance. Your husband has been part of the legislation, and you guys are one of the largest manufacturers of it in the area. And so we're hearing, my listeners, I mean, you guys are listening to this, you're hearing it straight from somebody who's out there fighting for your rights. So
absolutely,
this is what we got. I definitely need that link. I'm going to put the link in the show notes. Just for my listeners to let you know, this show, if you're listening to it on video today, and if you're looking for the audio version of it, the audio version is going to release in iTunes, Google Play, wherever podcasts can be found, on Saturday the 18th, which is a few days before the webinar launches. We picked that on purpose so that way it would be fresh in your mind. Get your download on Saturday. You've got your link. Put it in your calendar. Schedule for the 21st.
Thank you. Yeah, the webinar is happening on 21st, 5 p.m. Pacific.
Okay, is it going to be also stored in like a YouTube so people can access it at a later time?
If they sign up and they miss it, they will get a link to the replay.
Okay,
so
great.
Please make sure to sign up, even if you can watch the live one. In a live one, obviously, there is going to be chat and there is going to be live Q&A, so anyone can ask live questions there. Right. And like I said, it's a free webinar. If you miss it live and you sign up, you will get an email with the replay button. So just gotta make sure you sign up at least, so you're gonna have a chance to see it.
This has been
I'm excited. I'm
awesome
really hoping we bring this to more people and people can do it. And I hope for your legislation in your state to change.
That's gonna.
It's just, we're fighting. We're not actually and there is the legal. Just the very last, and I know we're gonna have to wrap up here. There is a difference for those that do not know that much of the difference. It's a legal difference, really, in the technical hemp that must be under 0.3% of THC. So the hemp does not make you high. It won't make your child high. It won't make you high. 0.3%, it's truly nothing. Then the cannabis that people use to get high, and the high part is the THC part. Those people, they smoke something that might have 20% THC. So one gets you high, the other really is not. The purpose is not into getting any kind of high in it. There is an extremely minute, and it always is present, an extremely minute amount of THC. But it's about CBD. This is about CBD. This is about a different cannabinoid that is presented in a plant. And these two, there's about at this moment, we have about over 100 cannabinoids that were classified, that we found that exist. Mostly we talk about the THC and a CBD because these two are the most present, and at this moment the public mostly has known about. But if you actually if you extract your own CBD, you get a full spectrum. You get about 100 cannabinoids in it going in your body that all have amazing properties to fulfill what your body already does, to just help with something that already exists in your body and that might not be in the amount your body needs.
Exactly. And it's just giving you a little bit of a kickstart with something that's already there, boosting it up to where it needs to be.
Absolutely.
Well, Kara, this has been an awesome show with you tonight, and I definitely want to have you back on at a later time so we can talk about some other things that are going on, because I know you've got your new book that's going to be coming out soon. When you get the brain book done, we want to bring you back on and talk about it, and by then, hopefully, maybe we've changed a few minds. And so if you could put out your information, how people could get a hold of you. It's also going to be in the show notes, everybody, so if you don't catch it right now. But if you would go ahead and give out your information, how people could get in touch with you if they want to find out some more about what it is that you're talking about.
Well, the simplest way would be either you can find me on Facebook or on www.Otakara.Klettke, is just my name.com. So if you just go there, you'll find a way to contact me. You can send me an email through my website. Definitely, I'm on a Facebook, either on my private account or an author account. You can definitely get hold of me there. And in the show notes, there will also be the link to sign up for the webinar. And I hope that I'll have the chance to hear from you, and anybody, even if it's stories, like if there are listeners that have stories, that have good stories, I'm always excited to hear how CBD helped someone in their life. So feel free to just share the stories with me, and I'm absolutely happy to connect.
Absolutely. Or email me. I'll share them with her. I mean, I would love to hear some of your testimonials. So, guys, with that, we are running on 90 minutes now. This has been an awesome show. I think this has been a definite. We're going to draw some attention with this one. For some reason, anytime we start talking about CBD and hemp, all of a sudden the download rates come up and people are like, really, what are we talking about now? This is something that we need to educate people on, change some minds. Cara, I'm going to get with you after the show. So to my listeners, I just want you guys to keep in mind, as you're listening to this show, changes can be made, but we have to look at the evidence, have to be willing to accept the evidence. And if you're honest with yourself, change your mind based on the evidence. It's called mental honesty. I mean, we should do that. So guys, with that, we're going to head out of here. The video will be up on YouTube. I'm also going to be streaming this live on Facebook. These are to the audio listeners. You can go to Facebook or YouTube and get to the video. That, guys, we're out of here.
Now, here comes the music.
We want to thank you for tuning in to the Anything Goes project. If you like this show, subscribe and share it. That would greatly help us out. To contact the show, email us at stalkermailbox@gmail.com. We love hearing from our subscribers and our listeners. The Anything Goes project can be found on iTunes, Castbox, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn, and many other Android applications. And once again, thanks for listening.